We have now officially arrived in the clown world. Guys, hold on tight. The ECB is now pitching the digital euro as a direct response to Donald Trump's crypto push here in the U.S. The US is massively opening up to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and a lot more, including AI. And Christine Lagarde can't come up with anything better than to pitch the digital euro as a counterargument. This whole thing is being reported, folks, and it's really quite explosive. Because what we're seeing right now is a divided world. The USA is opening up to innovation. The EU is missing out on everything here. Europe is turning itself into a surveillance state. And the US is now set up with freedom. Ross Ulbricht is being pardoned. And the craziest part is the socialists in Brussels, the socialists in the EU, at the European Central Bank, and so on. They're really starting to shake. They're scared of Donald Trump. Christine Lagarde goes even further. And she warns of an economic collapse that could now be coming to the European Union. I mean, just think about it. The EU just needs to be more open to Bitcoin. Open up a bit for innovation. But no, what do they want to do? They just want to keep pushing their ideology here. Keep pushing their climate narrative, their European Central Bank money narrative, their surveillance narrative. Instead of just saying here. It's like putting a spotlight on the fact that freedom is better than coercion, that Bitcoin is better than any. Fiat money slavery. No, then you have to bet on some old horses here. When there are already space rockets. The US is now betting on the space rocket Bitcoin. And for me, it's also crypto. And Europe is sleeping through the whole thing. But let's take a look at what people are really reporting here. By the way, I'm here in my new studio in my Bitcoin cave in El Salvador. Check this out, how awesome it is back here. The cave is really chill. And when I look ahead now, let's fucking go, this is my view. How cool is that? And the ECB folks are still trying to push through the digital euro. A viral post has actually been shared here in X. And he's basically referring to a Reuters article here. And it clearly states here, the ECB presents the digital euro as a response to Trump's crypto position. I mean, how stupid can you be? It's really right here. I don't know if this is the return of the clown world, or if we're living in a parallel matrix world, or maybe it's just an April Fool's joke. I don't know. Anyway, it goes on to say here, the banks of the Eurozone need a digital euro to respond to US President Donald Trump's push to promote stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency that is usually pegged to the US dollar, said Piero Cipollone, member of the executive board of the European Central Bank. Trump said he would further promote the development and growth of legal and legitimate dollar-backed stablecoins across the globe as part of a comprehensive crypto strategy that he outlined in an executive order issued on Thursday. And the European Union is now deeply shaken. The European Union is really shaking here because they're scared here that the narrative of digital central bank money is now clearly on the table here. People are done being enslaved. That's totally understandable. They're not into it either. That's why I'm here with Bitcoin. And I'll show it to you again. That's why I'm chilling here at Bitcoin Beach and not stuck in the CBDC ivory tower in Brussels. Trapped in Frankfurt. And what the European Union and what Christine Lagarde and the ECB folks have picked up on the most is actually that in this executive order, so in the emergency law here from Donald Trump or in the executive order, it's basically included that the US doesn't want any CBDCs. They even ban it and clearly speak out against CBDCs. It's recognized here, hey, CBDCs are really bad, CBDCs are evil, Bitcoin is good, Bitcoin is great, Bitcoin is really, really awesome. And in Europe, exact opposite is known. It's recognized that, okay, Bitcoin is really, really bad and CBDCs are really, really good. Although to date, not a single good argument has been put forward. So why would a central bank digital currency have any advantage for anyone in the EU? So is there any advantage like being more valuable or maybe being more anonymous or somehow being faster or something like that? There isn't a single advantage. The EU, the ECB, Christine Lagarde, all the homies, they just can't list any advantages here. But they're just trying to convince everyone with basically nothing. By now, they're getting laughed at on X and stuff. Whenever you post something, and even here under the post, of course, everyone is laughing down below. And when you come back with your stuff and start with your climate narrative, and they say things like, yeah, the European Central Bank suddenly has to start saving the climate. In the end, we've forgotten our job. We can't guarantee price stability. So let's just start saving the climate here. Now we're starting some climate packages. And then they start framing things. Yeah, right. How important the climate is for the European Central Bank and so on. The European Central Bank is partly responsible for that. For the whole overconsumption society, because we have inflating money, people's time preference is really, really high, and they're driven to spend their money super quickly. Because saving isn't worth it like it is with Bitcoin. And that's basically the perverse part of it. But let's take a closer look at the article. Here you can see the article in large. So the ECB is pitching the digital euro as a response to Trump's crypto push. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know. I'm just completely stunned when I see something like this. But on the other hand, it shows us that we're massively winning here. Bitcoin is winning. The CBDCs are losing, freedom is winning, and the surveillance state is also losing here. And now I translated all of this into an article with ChatGPT in German. That means here, the president of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, warned on Friday about the recent changes in economic dynamics and called them an existential threat. Oh, I forgot that. This is already an extra article that was also published today, where Christine Lagarde is warning about an existential threat from Donald Trump. Because she's just scared here. Okay, if Donald Trump positions himself politically differently here, like the EU and the EU, but if they want to stick to their dogma, then Donald Trump will, as he has already announced, impose tariffs. He will massively block the EU here. Europe is really going to go down now. EU is Titanic, we've hit ice. That the EU is the Titanic. Then we've already hit the iceberg. And we're already at the first steps here, where the water is really pouring into the Titanic. It's not completely sinking yet. The lifeboats aren't being lowered yet. So, I mean, you can definitely jump into the lifeboat of Bitcoin. But we're not quite at the absolute worst yet. But we've definitely already crashed into the mountain. And now check this out. It says here on a podium with Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, and Kristalina Georgieva. That's the head of the International Monetary Fund. Did Lagarde highlight excessive bureaucracy and a lack of investment incentives as key factors? Like, that undermine the trust of European business leaders. And that's why things are basically going downhill for the EU. And that's so twisted, because that's why Donald Trump is making orders to boost US innovation. Europe doesn't get it. They're saying there's little innovation, but they caused it. Grip's own doing. No, innovation. Now they're complaining that there's too little innovation, but they're the ones responsible for it. That there's too little innovation. And I'm sorry, whenever I say Europe, I'm obviously talking about the EU. I always mix it up. Europe. Fuck it. I always mean the EU when I say Europe. I have no idea why I've gotten into that habit. She says though current indicators like 2.4% inflation and stable GDP growth offer stability, Lagarde stressed deeper, structural problems need swift action by European leaders. So what could those measures be? Lagarde stressed that deeper structural problems require rapid and coordinated action by European leaders. And what could those measures be? Not that we're going to issue an executive order and declare a Bitcoin standard here in the EU. No, we just want to roll out the digital euro even further. We just want to keep people from bailing out. That they're bailing out of the EU. So I've explained this a few times already. So there are two different concepts. So the first concept means you have a good product and your people use your product voluntarily because they see a benefit when they use your product. And you could also say, for example, that the EU is a certain kind of service provider. Or you could also say Germany is just that. A certain product that you use as a place to live or as a basis for your life. And if you can make your product really, really attractive, for example. I'll show you again here in El Salvador, people come here voluntarily because they just want to chill here in the cave and make Bitcoin videos. El Salvador is creating good product here. People come here willingly because adopting Bitcoin, many companies are coming. Now Rumble has moved here, but Rumble is considering moving. Rumble thinking of moving here. They want to start an initiative here. El Salvador is coming together. Tether has moved here. Different people are basically shifting their business focus here to El Salvador because it's just attractive. Freedom-loving people and so on. A similar event is now in the USA. The USA is opening up here regulatory-wise. They make your product better. They just say, okay, we have clarity here if you do something with Bitcoin. If you do something with crypto, you are welcome here in our country. We promote that here. You don't have to fear any consequences or anything like that. We're turning this place into a crypto stronghold, a Bitcoin stronghold. The crypto digital of the world. And in the end, everyone knows that, and that leads to a whole lot of capital flowing into the USA, that a lot of capital is flowing into El Salvador, that innovation is entering the country, that knowledge, skills is flowing into the country. And that's basically the simple way to basically just promote their product here. That's just the completely logical process in a free market. If you don't have a good product here, then the product just won't sell anymore. People won't buy it anymore, people won't want it. That means you make your product more attractive. But what the EU is doing here is basically the exact opposite. They're not working on their own product. They're not trying to make their own country more attractive here. They're not trying to make their own currency more attractive. They're not trying to make their own economic location more attractive. Instead, they're trying to come up with all sorts of creative ways. Here, how to best keep people from fleeing the EU. Best to get people to do that. Stealing money from people's pockets through inflation without them noticing, basically building a surveillance state here. Without people screaming, without people suddenly realizing, hey, we've basically woken up in Orwell's 1984 nightmare. Here. So we basically have completely opposite approaches here. That means, again, USA freedom, El Salvador freedom, EU. Coercion, EU. Surveillance, EU central bank, digital currency. USA and El Salvador, we have halt. Bitcoin, crypto, and now with the US on top of that here in El Salvador, it's even better because we have a Bitcoin-only focus. That's basically the little, let's say, setback here in the US, but in the end, shouldn't stop Bitcoin. Bitcoin is involved here, and some meme coins that are really questionable. Would Bitcoin still move forward here? And Alice Weidel recently put it very nicely in an interview. She basically said that what's coming to Europe now is basically that they want to keep you in a prison euro. And that happens through capital controls, through the digital euro, where they can control things even better. Okay, where is the money flowing to? Then it can be said, Bitcoin limit 500 euros monthly. Bitcoin only for, I don't know, buying 500 euros worth of Bitcoin a month. Anyone who buys over 500 euros in Bitcoin a month, it's kind of like, criminal is on the right. That's really, really bad. Oh, now the cave is really starting to fill up with water. Now I gotta step on it. Otherwise, I may drown. It would definitely be bad if I drowned here in El Salvador. Then, of course, there's no good news here. Then tomorrow it'll say in the Bild newspaper, a crazy Bitcoin YouTuber drowned here in the Salvadoran cave. Then the lefties will be happy with that. I can definitely imagine that. Because they really don't like that Bitcoin is winning here right now. And we're also seeing right now that there's really a lot going on here. So against the current portrayal, it's not just from the ECB, but also from various other people. People are starting to realize that their concept just isn't working anymore. Both administrations that have tried to stop all the crypto Bitcoin have also realized that that doesn't work, and we always have to remember one thing, basically. It would have to be taken along. It's similar to stopping. I just told my mom about it earlier when we were on the phone. We can basically come up with an idea that everyone needs. In the end, can it be a tool that no one can stop? No one can ban it. And Bitcoin is a tool that few understand yet. And that's why there are all these misunderstandings. And that's basically the big realization you have to come to. And that's obviously the investment potential. And the problem is when you stand against an innovation, against an idea whose time has come, then you can only lose here. That means, I'll say it again, you can only lose. When you stand against Bitcoin, a lot of people have already had to realize that. Larry Fink, Michael Salvador, they were all against it at first. Coin opponent. At some point they figured out, hey, you can't ban it, you can't fight it, so shit. I don't really want to participate, but I have to now because it's happening. It just can't be any other way because I can't fight it and neither can the EU checks. Christine Garde checks not. I don't know what's going on with them and their craziness. Maybe we should chill at the beach more often. Let me show you again how to do it. Awesome. For sure, if you're still mixing in customers. With the purchase, just drop the link to the customers. Bitcoin, how you can easily and safely buy Bitcoin. You can front run the ECB here. Here comes my prediction sooner or later. If the ECB wants to survive, you have to buy Bitcoin, you have to adopt it. Adopt or have fun staying poor. There are only two options. And like I said, with the Bitcoin Hotel, they're still up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. See you, take care. Peace out.